I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear, is the quote attributed to Dr. Martin Luther King. And I know that I've had my ups and downs these weeks coming, but this is all about contrast. And in 1977, I was living in the wonderful city of Washington, D.C., experiencing what that vibration is. I did temporary secretarial at the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, at Amtrak, at the World Bank, and at a most interesting place, which was a consultant firm that was involved in selling arms to other countries. And I'm a minister of Peace Community Church and a board member of the Inner Peace Movement at this time. So it was such an interesting contrast. That was the week that Anwar Sadat was assassinated, and the owner of the business was an Arab, an Egyptian, so he was on the phone a lot, and then his co-worker was a retired general, and I was like in shock. Why am I here? And it was to share love with the other secretary and to hold that energy of love within that space. And I learned so much from all those different experiences of being in that pressure cooker city. And you know, when we think of Martin Luther King, we also usually put together Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. You know, they were the spark of wonderful ideas and wonderful transformations. Also in that category would fit Ernest Holmes and the Fillmores and Mary Baker Eddy and all the other founders and people who were searching for that new level of understanding the message of Christ, which my name is Christine. I'm sorry, I've had to spend my whole life studying about what the message of Christ is. And to me, it is that his 11th commandment, which was love one another as I have loved you. Now, I don't know about you, but that's been a long and winding road to get to being able to do that, right? You know, carving out all those different resistances for the reality of how things seem to be appearing. And it's all, as I said, a reality seems to be. It's a big illusion. It's a big game. You know, when we were up there on that cloud, looking down, going, I think I'll go down and try again. And this is a really exciting time because they're really breaking through to the light a little bit. And more, you know, and I'll go and help. I've had this, I know it was at least since I was 14, but it's always been there, this, I've got to help people, and what's my calling, and how do I do that? And I've been totally involved in that. How many else? Anybody else? Yeah, I thought, oh, the cream of the crop, you know, the people, the cream rises to the top. And those of us who have, that's why that quote, cream of the crop, it takes me back to the farm, but that's another subject. But anyway, we're answering the call of love, and we're being called even more now. And as Martin Luther King was pulling together his idea and moving out, there were individuals coming up behind him in every walk of life, in every different corner of the world, saying, oh, if he can do it, I can do this part, I can do this much, I can do this much. And it changed as he was doing it, he didn't know how it was going to end. He was doing it in courage. He was stepping out in faith. He was stepping out in confidence that there must be a reason for all these different things. So that's what we're called to do, is to hold that light that has been shining through since Jesus was here, of having more love and raising the vibration. And I know you all know that. And I want to remind us that there's 3 kinds of business in the world. There's your business, there's my business, and there's God's business. And as long as I don't get into your business and God's business, and mind my business, life is much easier. So, you know, isn't it tempting to look at other people's business and say, you should be doing this? And I'm the best fixer that you've ever met. You mentioned something and I've got a solution for you, because I can always see how everybody else can do it better, you know? You have a health issue, I know exactly what to do. You have an emotional issue, I know exactly tell me what to do. But I've recently narrowed down and refining what my calling is. What is the piece of the pie that's most important to me to share with people? And that is to have emotional integrity in life, emotional wholeness, emotional completeness. And it's been the path of my life to fall off of that pattern. You know, when I was 14, I remember at a church gathering for teenagers, we were in some conversation, and my statement about heaven and hell was, I believe heaven and hell are right here. They're not someplace out there. And I felt very brave and bold to be saying that in a Methodist gathering. That, you know, heaven and hell are right here. And I didn't get struck by lightning. And nobody, you know, took me aside and counseled me. And so there must have been something there. And that has been the thread. I'm the keeper of the gate between heaven and hell. But, you know, I spent a lot of time in hell. You know, trying to live up to other people's expectations. Trying to do it right, really devoted to the cause, and really working to get the world a better place. I was teaching people how to work with their angels. I was teaching people how to be their spiritual entrepreneur self. I was working with young people, inspiring them to be their own best leader of themselves. They ran our conference centers where I worked, and so I was, though, not eating well, not meditating, not listening within. I was just doing from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. So by the time I got out of that organization, I was a little burnt out. So no one is asking us to do more than is our balanced, loving, sincere, joyful frequency to put out into the world. I talked when I was here before about grief and faith and fear, and grief and joy, and raising our vibration up above that. And anger and pain are the capstone of those emotions to our enthusiasm, to our joy, to our excitement in life. And there's pressure around whenever there's human conflict to be in that jumping place where we can jump back and forth from one to the other just by a headline that we see or something. And then that conversation will go about, I have conversations like that with my family members who aren't even here, but you know, I'll see a headline and it stimulates, and all of a sudden I realize I am carrying on this conversation trying to change somebody and they're not even here. What Martin Luther King said when he accepted his Nobel Peace Prize was, man must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love.